to those who are not used to driving and you're from the South. They said this: if you rarely drive on snow, just pretend you're taking your grandmother to church. There is a platter of biscuits and 2 gallons of sweet tea in glass jars in the back seat. Grandma is wearing a brand new dress, and she's holding in her lap a crock pot full of gravy. I thought it was decent advice. I also have one more related to driving. I don't know if that was anyone in the room here driving to the event this evening. It's a little story also related to driving. Sitting on the side of the highway waiting to catch speeding drivers, a state police officer sees a car puttering along at 22 miles an hour. He thinks to himself, this driver is just as dangerous as someone speeding. So the officer turns on his lights and pulls the driver over. Approaching the car, the officer notices there are 5 older ladies, 2 in the front, 3 in the back, eyes wide and white as ghosts. The driver, obviously confused, says to him, "Officer, I don't understand. I was doing exactly the speed limit. What seems to be the problem?" "Ma'am," the officer replies, "you weren't speeding, but you should know that driving slower than the speed limit is also dangerous to other drivers." "Slower than the speed limit?" the woman asked. "No, sir, I was driving exactly the speed limit, 22 miles per hour, she says proudly. The state police officer, trying to contain a chuckle, that explains to her that 22 was actually the route number, not the speed limit. A bit embarrassed, the woman grins and thanks the officer for pointing out her error. "But before I let you go, ma'am, I have to ask you this," said the officer. "Is everyone in the car okay? These women seem awfully shaken. They haven't muttered a word this entire time." The woman replies, "Oh, they'll be all right in a minute, officer. You see, we just got off Route 119. We've all had that experience where we're traveling our road of life, and we have everything planned out exactly how this day is going to fall into place. Or we know just how this week's going to fall into place, or this month, or this next year, or even our retirement. We know just exactly how the next 10 years of our life are going to play out. And then almost inevitably, we have the unexpected turn where we find ourselves shouting, "Recalculating." This program is all about providing some strategies for you in a pretty painless way for navigating those unexpected turns in life with resilience, with creativity, with wisdom. So that is where we're going this evening. So I want to start with the first strategy, which is tweaking your minds for success. There was actually a Harvard Business School professor who did an experiment called the Don't Stop Believin' experiment. Some of you may have heard of the song from Journey, Don't Stop Believin'. Don't stop believing. Very nice. I could bring the mic over there if you like. And what the actual experiment was about, the professor required her students, each one had to go up to a microphone and sing Don't Stop Believing in front of all the other students in the class. And they actually had, some of you may be familiar with the Nintendo Wii, which is a game system, that actually has a rating scale, which could judge how well they were doing in singing, like the volume, the pitch, how long they held their notes. So they were actually being scored. So let me tell you a little bit about this here. Standing in front of a group of peers, students belted out the Journey song Don't Stop Believing into a microphone. A voice recognition program on the Nintendo Wii automatically scored their performance on an accuracy scale from 1 to 100%, assessing volume, pitch, and note duration. They would earn a bonus for high scores. Now, I want you to imagine, women, that you were assigned to one of these students, and you had 5 minutes to coach them before they go up to the sing. And if you could get the student to have one of the highest scores in the room, you would get a $1,000 bonus for yourself, and the student would as well. I want you to turn to someone next to you and tell them, if you had a student and money was on the line and you could give them advice, what advice would you give that student in the 5 minutes before? Turn to someone next to you and tell them, what advice would you give?